I'm excited to come and share with you all the mistakes that I've made over my time, and there's been plenty. Has anyone else here worked for a terrible boss before that has no idea the impact that they have on a business? And has anybody here, like me, made so many mistakes with staff before? I've made so many. It's cost me a lot of money. It's caused me to go grey, so I'm starting to accept that a little bit now. So hopefully I can prevent all that kind of stuff happening to you, either, if you just take one or two things away. But building teams and winning culture is very important in my business because, like Steve said, we have about 10 personal trainers, and it's the main source of our revenue is the personal training. So each one of my trainers could hold up to 120, 150 grand a year in revenue just in their personal training. The good thing about that is that I haven't really done personal training since 2011. So my sole, input into the business is working with the people. And I'm lucky to have James here too, who's been with me for about 7 years, and he actually runs the day-to-day operations of the business as well. So started in the industry in about 2005, and you think you're going to do all these wonderful things, but then quickly realise that it's actually hard work and long hours. And the last couple of years, I've been trying to work out how do I actually continue to be extremely profitable whilst not having to work those 80 hours a week, and it's caused me to go back to the drawing board on a couple of things because in 2014 we had a very high staff turnover, and I thought, I thought I was doing this quite well, but it turns out that I wasn't. And I revisited this book and this video that I'm going to give Steve today that you guys can have too, and it's called The Speed of Trust. Has anyone heard of Stephen Covey before and The Speed of Trust? And in this book and in this video, a couple of key takeaways that I got from this was viewing trust in your business as an economic driver, as an important economic driver in your business. I mean, sometimes we think as trust as just a social virtue, something that isn't really measurable. But he talks about how nothing's as fast as the speed of trust, and you can actually measure how effective trust can be in your business in economic terms. He also talks about, when we talk about leadership, what are our staff members actually, what are we asking them to buy from us? Because we're working together. What are they buying into? And he talks about they're buying into your character and they're buying into your competence level as well. So it's interesting seeing this triangle here too. And if you're learning about business and you get up to this sort of fumbling stage, and your competency level of being a business operator is exposed here, if your people haven't bought into your character, you're going to have that staff turnover as well as trying to work out what the hell to do to grow your business. So I know that if I'm going to work effectively with someone, they need to know who I am, they need to buy into my character, they need to know how I'm going to operate on a day-to-day basis, but they also need to know that in adversity, or when you're up a creek without a paddle, that you're competent enough to guide them through those challenges. So it's easy to say, okay, I'm a strong character, I'm a competent operator, but how do you actually articulate that? How do you define that? How can you actually get your people to hold you accountable? So I went back to I reviewed my own performance over the last 12 months, and I thought, what is it that I'm actually standing for and not even knowing that I'm standing for it? So at the end of every day, I might, reflect on how did I perform. It might only be for 5 minutes while I'm eating dinner, or even if I'm just zoning out watching TV, and I'm sort of thinking, how did I go about things today? You review your mistakes, you review your successes, and I thought that I need to document this because every time I work with someone, they need to know who they're working with. People who know me well, they know that I've got this kind of approach with my communication. I'm very candid with the way that I speak. I'm direct and I'm straightforward. Now, if I have somebody that isn't direct and straightforward, that can come across as rude. And I've had a bit of trouble with some staff members where they think, well, Dave's just rude with how he goes about it. I prefer to say candid. And why would I say that I prefer to say candid? Or what's my motivation for having a candid approach? Well, it's to maintain productivity. So we don't always have the time to sit down with them and go through everything and make sure that everything's okay. So I'm gonna have a candid approach to my communication, but I just want to assure you that it's not me being rude. I just want to make sure productivity is maintained. So this is what I do one-on-one with my team members before they really get started, is that I'm actually telling them who they're dealing with. I also talk about my attitude as being resourceful. So you know that when things get hard, I'm going to always have that resourceful approach. And these are things that they can keep me accountable to. And I sought out a few people that know me well, and I thought, does this sound like me? Because self-awareness and you know, is an important part. So I just made sure that the things that I've documented here, this is how I conduct myself. So I've got a very, very resourceful attitude. I'll always look for quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties and challenges. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that when you're saying it to someone one-on-one and you get the opportunity to actually do it, they buy into you more and trust gets stronger. And if trust is stronger between you and your staff member, then that will result in revenue. Okay, so this is all about building trust. Other things I stand for, and this is where it starts getting really good, is you know, when I'm dealing with conflict, it's got to be a win-win for both parties. See, if I'm running my business and I'm making the decisions, and I feel like I'm winning, but they feel like they're losing, well, then their performance is going to drop. They might not tell me. We still have good interactions each day, but this is when you go home and you think, why isn't that person performing? Well, they might not think that they're winning in these kind of decisions. So I sit down and always make sure that I come up with a win-win. But on the other hand, if they're winning, if I feel like they're winning and I'm losing, I'm going to resent them. So it's going to cause me not to spend much time with them, because I'm going to start resenting the fact that I'm paying you more money than you're worth, or the fact that just to keep you. So I'll always communicate candidly a win-win approach. But the good thing is your staff members now start coming to me, or my staff members start coming to me and saying, hey Dave, I know how you like to always come up with a win-win. Look, I've got this holiday coming up in 3 weeks. If I go out and get 5 more leads like this week, would you mind if I go instead of 2 weeks for 3 weeks? Well, that could be a win-win opportunity, but they're coming to me with the problem already solved because they know what I stand for. So without going into this in too much detail, it's really, really important that a leader knows themselves. A leader understands themselves, how they're actually going about it, and then it's important to communicate that effectively to your team members.